Is Alex Golesh the new head coach at Arkansas?
You are Locked On SEC, your daily podcast on the Southeastern Conference. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, everybody? Welcome into Locked On SEC. I'm Chris Gordy. Thanks for making us your first listen every day. Shout out to our everydayers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, now the #1 sports podcast network, free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube, covering your team every day. Today's episode brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use our code LOCKEDONCollege, get $20 off your first purchase. All right, Lee, need to just jump right into it. The news that kind of came out on, where are we? Wednesday morning. I'm lost in the days. It's Thanksgiving week. But Wednesday morning, we, there were rumblings among the internet that Alex Golesh could indeed be the next head coach at Arkansas. And we know Arkansas has been doing their due diligence, doing their search. We know there was interest recently talking to Pat Fitzgerald and, a bunch of different names out there that have surfaced in this search. Ryan Silverfield at Memphis was the hot name a couple weeks ago. Well, Alex Golesh's name started to pick up a little bit more traction in the last 24 hours or so. And he's a guy who's had some great success at USF, but you never know when it's internet rumors. And here's the tweet that surfaced. It was Trey Schapp, who covers the Razorbacks, according to his Twitter, since 1996, voice of Little Rock women's basketball. And again, he got close to 20,000 followers. So seems to be somewhat of a credible source. The only problem is nobody else was reporting this outside of Trey Schapp. And so you kind of start, we're the ones that we typically wait for the Pete Nakos, the Pete Thamel, the Ross Dellingers, those kind of guys, the national reporters, to get some substance on, okay, is this real or is this not? Well, throughout the day, we kind of were dissecting it and trying to figure out, okay, is this going to happen or whatever? Well, at 11 a.m. on Wednesday morning, Bobby Petrino took to social media. Of course, he's the interim Arkansas coach, and he put out a thank you message and said, thank you, Razorback fans, or Razorback Nation, he said. And here's what it said. Razorback family, second chances are hard to come by in this business. I know how rare it is to return to a place that has always meant so much. Being back on the Arkansas sideline, it's been both an honor and a privilege, and I've appreciated every day of it. No matter how this weekend turns out, my pride in this team won't change. These players showed up, went to work, faced adversity the right way, stayed committed to each other. That's all any coach can ask for. I'm equally proud of our staff, who never settled for excuses and instead showed up every day, kept the standard high, and gave these players every ounce they had. To the Razorback fans, thank you. You welcome me back with the same pride and passion. Whatever the future holds, I'll always be grateful for the opportunity to lead this team once again. Bobby Petrino, Woo Pig Suey. Why would Bobby Petrino pick today as the day to say, hey, thank you, Arkansas fans, right? He's still got a game to coach. He's got to coach Arkansas against Mizzou on Saturday. So it just felt a little bit weird that within basically an hour or so of each other, you get this report or this tweet from Trey Schapp saying, according to sources, Alex Golesh has accepted the head coaching gig with the Razorbacks. And then we get Bobby Petrino's thank you message to Arkansas fans. Well, as the day went along, the afternoon started to get into it. Ross Dellinger, this is about 2:30, puts out a tweet that says, South Florida may soon be entering a coaching search. As that plays out, the school is in line to become the first non-power program to fully fund the $20.5 million in athlete revenue share, as the university board recently approved the influx. So as an aside, that's great for USF. Like, they are, it's a great position for them to be in a non-power conference that they're going to have a ton of money to spend. And you start to look around at some of those other schools, that are maybe on their same level, the Tulanes and schools like that. Like, what are they going to do? But anyway, that's just an aside. Well, then at about the same time, we get Rob Higgins, who is the athletic director at USF, puts out a tweet that says, since Saturday's game, Alex Golesh has been presented with outside opportunities that he has been transparent about with us. We are respectful and supportive of Coach and his family and their decision-making process will remain in constant communication. Bull Nation, rest assured we are ultra prepared for every scenario that could unfold in the coming hours or days. Our commitment and investment has never been higher, and we're also laser focused on being great stewards of our resources. Most importantly, the future of USF football has never been more bright. Go Bulls. Okay, so we got the messaging out there that okay, this could be happening. Ross Dellinger says in one breath, USF could be without their coach soon, or could be on a coaching search. Rob Higgins, the AD, puts out a message that says, hey, Coach Golesh has been presented with some outside opportunities. They're trying, though. Here's the problem. If Golesh already has a verbal deal in place with Arkansas to go, USF is maybe saying, look, we're still playing for, want to have a really nice finish to the season. Maybe we don't let Golesh leave, want him to finish the season out here. And to which I've seen some responses, like Keith Perlman says, respect what Coach Golesh has done, wish him well if he leaves, but if he's taking another job, he should not be on the sideline Saturday or for a bowl game. If he isn't with us, he's not with us. All gas, no brakes. And a couple people saying 100% correct and all this. Here's the problem. The minute you have a coach that's ready to leave for another opportunity, a lot of the fan base is ready to say, sayonara, see ya, don't let the door hit you on the way out. And that's kind of where we are. And I agree from a standpoint of if the programs are level. Clearly, Arkansas in the SEC is a better overall job than USF. He's taking a better job. It's a better opportunity for him. And we've seen this sometimes with smaller schools, like for instance, the name that's going to be brought up a lot in the next couple of weeks, the Tulane coach, John Summerall. Tulane has a chance to make the playoff. He's got interest from Auburn, Florida, LSU, potentially Ole Miss if Lane Kiffin indeed leaves. And I think those schools are going to be fine, at least from what I've heard. An Auburn would be fine making the announcement John Summerall will be the next Auburn coach, but he's going to finish out the season at Tulane. And I think for the most part, look, you'll have the vocal minority of Tulane fans, but I think for the most part, Tulane fans would go, you know what, we get it. Totally fine with it. When Willie Fritz just left to go to Houston, they knew Houston is in the Big 12. It's a little bit of a step up for Willie Fritz. Most of the Tulane fans got it. Again, you had some who were like, see you later, get out of here, you stink, and all that kind of stuff. But I just would think most USF fans, you would have to understand, and I get it, Arkansas is maybe a program, it's not at the top of its game right now, but I think an Alex Golesh can get them there. But the reaction to that is, a lot of USF fans saying, see ya, get out of here, hit the road, whatever. So this fast forward to about 3 o'clock on Wednesday afternoon, Brett McMurphy puts out a post that says, USF's Alex Golesh has not accepted any offers to leave as of now. Will that change? So again, this all feels like a formality. It sounds like Alex Golesh is going to be the next head coach at Arkansas. He's formally been offered. I'm sure he's probably verbally accepted behind the scenes, but everybody's kind of doing their thing where USF's like, the season's not over. We want to finish the season with Alex Golesh. Arkansas's like, cool, we're in no rush. We just let Bobby Petrino know he's not going to be the interim. That's why he went to, he's not going to be the full-time coach. That's why he took to social media to say, hey, thank you, Razorback fans. So all the dots are connecting here and lining up. It's just this weird awkwardness of we can't come right out and say, there can't be a formal announcement here to just go, hey, heads up, everybody. Alex Golesh going to Arkansas. He's just going to finish this thing out at USF. Again, for whatever reason, they're not doing that. So we'll see where this goes. All right. So that's the latest. That's where we are news-wise. Coming up next, we'll talk actually about Alex Golesh. Is this a good fit for Arkansas? What does he bring? I've got some insider intel I'll bring you on what some people have to say about him. So all that coming your way here on a special Wednesday afternoon edition of Locked On SEC. Stay with us. Hey, but first, I want to remind you guys about our friends over at FanDuel. Of course, they got action going for you every night with the NBA back this holiday season. I mean, we've got bowl games coming up. You got college action that'll be happening almost every night of the week. You got Thanksgiving week. You got the pro games going on Thursday. You got big college games in the final week of rivalry week. So plenty of reason to get over at FanDuel and check everything right out. Right now, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. All you got to do is head to FanDuel.com to get signed up. And here are some of the betting lines out there right now at FanDuel. again, these are some of the big SEC games happening this weekend. Ole Miss, a 7.5-point favorite at Mississippi State. You got Texas A&M, 2.5-point favorite at Texas. If you want to get in on any of this action, just head to FanDuel.com, get signed up, and play your game with FanDuel. They are the official sports betting partner of the NBA. FanDuel.com. All right, we're along here, locked on SEC, and so now we kind of get into it. If Alex Golesh is indeed the head coach that Arkansas is hiring, let's get to know him a little bit. Obviously, he's a guy who is 41 years old, very young, very much still, in his prime. And he's a guy who's very interesting. He was born in Moscow, moved to the U.S. as a kid, grew up in New York and then Ohio, and then later met his wife, who is from Arkansas. And so there is a tie right there immediately. But he's a guy that, of course, was at Illinois for a handful of years, coming up as their tight ends coach, coaching running backs, coaching special teams, all these different things. And then goes to Iowa State from 2016 to 2019 under Matt Campbell there, and getting to coach the tight ends. Was that, I believe, their run game coordinator at one point. And then in 2020 ends up at UCF. Was only their season in 2020. It was the COVID year, but so it was an impactful year because why? He got to work with Josh Heupel, and so he was his co-offensive coordinator / tight ends coach, and so good experience there with Heupel, but Heupel liked him enough that when Heupel gets the Tennessee job at 21, he takes Alex Golesh with him and makes him his offensive coordinator / tight ends coach. And so obviously he and Heupel had to be on the same page, in sync with one another when it comes to offense. And they were very good together. And as you guys remember, they go and get a kid from Virginia Tech, quarterback who nobody really thought very much about, named Hendon Hooker. And Hendon Hooker had a fantastic run there at Tennessee. They were, before he has that catastrophic, was a leg injury, whatever it was, against South Carolina. Tennessee was awesome. I mean, he was literally headed to New York as a Heisman finalist. And then after the injury happened, basically the Heisman voters said, kick rocks. We'll see you later. But anyway, 2 really good years as the Tennessee offensive coordinator there under Josh Heupel, won a lot of games. And again, a lot of people are going to jump to, well, how much of that was Heupel? How much of that was Golesh? All that kind of stuff. So in 2023, Golesh says, you know what? I've got an opportunity to go show what I can do. I'm going to go take a head coaching job at USF, South Florida. So he has been there since 2023. And the last 3 seasons has been very good there. They obviously caught national headlines earlier this year when they beat Florida, obviously one of their big wins. Obviously, Florida started to spiral after that, but it was a big win at the moment. And let's not forget, he's had a nice offense that they give Alabama some fits the last 2 years. What was it, Saban's last year when they couldn't decide on a quarterback in that rainy game down in South Florida, and then last year in Tuscaloosa, Kalen DeBoer, his first year, it was a tough one. So it was a battle. And Byron Brown, was developed into a really nice quarterback under him. And if you look at the numbers, USF currently, this is updated as of right now, USF is number 2 in the nation in yards per game, number 12 in the nation in rushing yards per game, number 5 in the nation and scoring 42 points per game. I mean, that is just outstanding. And so Alex Golesh obviously has had he's had quite a run as an offensive mind. And I think, look, there was some debate over where Arkansas should go, right? You had Sam Pittman, who was the O-line coach, big recruiter, that sort of thing. Didn't really work. You had Chad Morris, which was a debacle. You just had Bobby Petrino as the interim. Some people were debating, should they go defensive minded? Should we go get a guy who's just completely defensive minded as opposed to the offensive guru guys? But as you guys know, to win in the SEC, at least the last 4 or 5 years, you got to have high flying offenses. You got to have an offense that can score points. Now, look, you got an Oklahoma out there. It's doing it a little bit differently this year with dominant defense. I get it. But at the end of the day, A&M, for as good as their defense is, it's their offense that has carried them to this undefeated season so far. Marcel Reed, Casey Concepcion, Mario Craver, all those pieces that they have. And so to me, you got to have the good offense, got to have a good DC. I get it. It's been putrid at Arkansas this season, the defense there, but you got to have a good offense. And Alex Golesh is a guy that obviously is a really, really good offensive mind. So now let me give you a little intel. I asked our guy, Eric Kane from Locked On Vols, who covers Tennessee. And obviously Eric's at every Tennessee practice. He's behind the scenes there. He's gotten to know a lot of the coaches pretty well. And so he was there when Golesh was there. And so I asked Eric for kind of a firsthand account of Alex Golesh from his time there at Tennessee. And here's what Eric said. He said, Golesh is the man. Big fan of him. Saw him last month while he was up here recruiting. Just a great down-to-earth dude. So he's got his quirks like any coach does, but he's headstrong and he has a great mind. He evolves offensively, and here's the kicker. He is a butt kicker. And he didn't say butt. He said, meaning he gets after it with his players. That's the number one thing Tennessee has been missing on the offensive end since Golesh left. Tennessee has missed that on the offensive end with Golesh gone. And they just seem to be kind of getting back to form since he left, is what he said. But there's no, butt kicker on the staff there at Tennessee. Golesh is that dude. He said, like he said, nice guy, but he will kick you in the butt when you need to. And so anyway, just kind of an insider perspective there from Eric Kane, who covered him and closely there from his time in at Tennessee. And that's the kind of guy, if you're an Arkansas fan watching this, that's the kind of guy that you may be getting here in Alex Golesh, a guy that, let's face it, won 7 or more games each season he's been there. 7-6 his first year at USF, 7-6 in year 2, 4-4 in conference both years. And then this year's taking that big step forward at 8-3 on the season, 5-2 in the conference. They're going to finish off their regular season this week. Won both bowl games that they've played in, the Boca Raton Bowl and the Hawaii Bowl. 22-15 overall as a head coach, 13-10 in the AAC, which is a respectable conference outside of the top power conferences. So, at the end of the day, is this the right hire for Arkansas? I would just ask Arkansas fans, who did you want in terms of who's gettable? It sounds like John Summerall, if he was at the top of your list at Tulane, and by the way, defensive-minded guy, if you wanted him, it sounds like Auburn is pretty far down the road with him. Like I said, if Lane Kiffin leads Ole Miss, sounds like they'll have interest. LSU, if they don't get Lane Kiffin, they could have interest. Florida is going to have interest. So John Summerall sounds like he's going to go to one of those schools already. I don't know if Arkansas, if that would fall in line with a guy that they could get. Like, in other words, I just think those other programs are a little bit ahead of Arkansas right now. And I think that they're going to, I think he would be more liable to take one of those jobs as opposed to Arkansas. The Pat Fitzgerald thing was interesting to me. I was curious, I'd be curious to see what that guy could do. This guy who's won a lot of games, got let go on a controversial reason, has since cleared his name from all that. And so that one kind of intrigued me a little bit to see what he could do. But, I think you have to think, if you're Arkansas, who's realistic. I get they landed with a big golden goose in getting John Calipari in basketball. I just feel like, that the circumstance there with where Kentucky was and not, he needed to get out of there, wanted to get out of there. Kentucky wanted him out of there. And it just kind of, the timing kind of worked there. But I don't think there's a John Calipari-esque type coach that you can get in football right now. Like, who would be, like, I saw Spiel float out. What if Dabo wants to change the scenery at Clemson? I just feel like it's not where Arkansas is right now. Golesh, I think, could be very successful. Now, what does success look like? The SEC is absolutely loaded right now. It is brutal from, you added Oklahoma and Texas. I kept telling people this all, the last few years. If you wanted the SEC to expand and you're a fan of a team that was currently in the SEC, what you want to hope for was that the SEC would add somebody like Wake Forest or Virginia, not Texas and Oklahoma. You add 2 monster brands like that, they're going to be good. And last year, Texas played for an SEC title. Oklahoma has bounced back this year. They're, possibly going to finish 10-2. So the SEC landscape is very hard. So what's success look like at Arkansas? My thought is this, and this is just me, not as an Arkansas fan of Arkansas, but at least following them and have friends that cover them and are Hog alums. I would say once every 5 years, could we get into the playoff? I know that seems like low expectations. I know Arkansas fans want better than that. To me, I think that's realistic. Now, that's not to say years you're not making the playoff that you're going 6-6, but I would think something like year 1 for Alex Golesh, can you go 6-6, 7-5? Year 2, can you take a step forward and be in that 8-4, 9-3 territory? And then, as we kind of know, the bar, if we're going to keep in this 12-team iteration of the playoff, 10-2 in the SEC is most likely to get you in. Do you schedule a tough non-conference game to kind of give you that boost? That's kind of what A&M is riding off of right now. Vanderbilt is not in that conversation right now. People are dinging them because of their lack of a big marquee wins in the conference. But A&M, that win over Notre Dame, they're riding high on that right now. That's giving them a lot of fuel. And so, by year 3, can Golesh get Arkansas to 10-2? It's all about how the schedule unfolds. I mean, if you got a year where you're playing Alabama, Georgia, LSU, Tennessee, Texas, I mean, it's going to be the schedule can be absolutely brutal, and it'll eat you alive. It's what happened with Billy Napier just now in Florida. But like I said, I think, and go ahead and get the T-shirts made. Heupel disciple. I think Josh Heupel being a disciple of Alex Golesh being a disciple of Josh Heupel will have him ready to be successful at this job. Keep in mind, when Josh Heupel came to Tennessee from UCF, people were doubting, is he cut out for this level of football? And he's done a tremendous job at Tennessee, has made them relevant again since he's been there. And Tennessee's, former very proud program. So, all right, when we come back, we will kind of wrap up this discussion and give you the latest on where we are with Alex Golesh and the Arkansas stuff. That's coming your way here in just a second. If I could remind you guys about our friends over at the Game Time app. It's the final weekend of the college football weekend or college football regular season. And if you're heading out the door, you want to get to some games this weekend, might I recommend the Game Time app. It is the app that gives the advantage back to the fans. It's the easiest way to score last-minute tickets at the best prices, no surprise fees. What you see is what you pay. You can pull up the Game Time app in just a couple seconds. You're going to see some amazing deals. I'm talking about your favorite college football games as low as $25, and the app makes it super simple to use. You can even see the exact view from your seat before you buy, and it's faster, cheaper, and less stressful than any other way you're going to buy tickets. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with the Game Time app. You download the Game Time app, you create an account, use our code LOCKEDONCollege, get $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, that's promo code LOCKEDONCollege, get $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download the Game Time app today. All right, as we finish up here, just wanted to talk a little bit about the Alex Golesh news. Again, the USF AD Wednesday afternoons, and Coach Golesh has been presented with outside opportunities that he's been transparent with us about. Our buddy John Neighbors from Locked On Razorback saying, well, that is certainly something. And John kind of did a couple videos. He said, is Alex Golesh the new head coach at Arkansas? What's the latest there? What if he's not, the head coach? What is, where do we go from here if this is all just rumors and maybe he was just using this for leverage for a new deal at USF? I don't think that's the case. There seems to be where there's enough smoke, there's fire. So anyway, and some people going after John Neighbors. He tweeted out, I'll forever be appreciative of Bobby Petrino. By the way, Neighbors is a big Bobby Petrino fan. He said he came back, gave it his all, and he appreciated the fans for it. Nothing but love for Bobby Petrino. And then some guy went at him and said, you bashed him every chance you got. To which John said, woo pig. But yeah, just kind of perusing the internet and seeing, the comments from a lot of Hog fans that are kind of seemingly not big fans of it. The hire. Neighbors said, this was yesterday, he said, I officially determined my mentality the rest of the Razorback coaching search. I want Ryan Silverfield. He said, that's my mentality. If it's not, that's great, but I'm just going to stick with that until the hire is made. So again, Silverfield was kind of the rumored name for the last couple of weeks with Arkansas. And so did they get to a point where maybe they were talking dollars and cents? And look, I think Golesh and Silverfield are very complementary. I think they're very similar in their records and what they've done. And so, again, I just as I saw somebody point on social media, they said the difference from Chad Morris to Alex Golesh is Golesh coached in the SEC, and he did so under Josh Heupel in a very successful spot at Tennessee, and knows what it takes to win this conference. Again, he's had great success at USF. Don't want to poo-poo on that, but again, the SEC experience to me is much different here in this space because he knows what it takes to win in this conference, and you're going to have a really good quarterback. NIL has changed this thing. I know, it used to be, give him about 2-3 years to get going. Look, if he gets a stud quarterback, look at what he turned Byron Brown into at USF. Look at what Hendon Hooker was at Tennessee. I think Arkansas can be a factor next year if they, do well, finish strong with this recruiting class coming up in a couple of weeks, and jump into the portal immediately. And if he's the guy, if they can get a big time quarterback to come in, Arkansas can be a team that can make some noise next year if Alex Golesh is the guy. So, all right, we'll leave it there, guys. Thank you guys so much for checking us out. A reminder, you can check us out daily if you live in Louisiana, Mississippi, and Alabama on the Gulf Coast Sports and Entertainment Network, broadcasting daily at 11:30 a.m. Central. Gulf Coast Sports and Entertainment Network, home of the New Orleans Pelicans and home of Locked On SEC. I'm Chris Gordy. It's been Locked On SEC. We'll certainly have more on the coaching searches coming up throughout the next few days.